In 1994, when my son and I were playing at West Fullerton Little League, my son got totally into baseball. One day he said, "Let's go to a card show, Dad. My favorite player is Griffey Jr. and I want some of his cards." I said, "Sure, let's go." So we went to a show, don't remember which show it was. He was looking for his cards, filtering through a bunch of boxes, and I kind of wandered over to another table and I noticed that there was some cards from when I was a kid. And I thought, wow, this is kind of cool. I haven't seen these cards in 30 years. And I started filtering through. And I was just knocked over by how much I enjoyed my old baseball cards. So one of the cards that I bought that day, my son bought a Griffey Jr. and I bought a Ted Williams card from 1951. We went to a few more card shows. He picked up a few more cards. I picked up a few more cards. And it got to the point where I said, hey, a lot of these guys, Willie Mays, DiMaggio, all these great players, they're all in the Hall of Fame. Why don't we start something about collecting one card of every player in the Baseball Hall of Fame? And that was 1994, and I've been collecting it ever since. As a kid, most of us from the 60s and 70s did collect baseball cards when they weren't being put on our spokes of our bike to make the noise. A lot of baseball cards were used for that. I did collect, but I wasn't an avid collector at all. It was just fun to have them around. Most of the cards that I've gotten here have been gotten through auctions, eBay, card shows here locally. Most of the old stuff from 1887 and 1890s are all from auctions. They're very difficult to get. Now back then they weren't so difficult, but today it's getting more and more difficult to find those cards from the 1880s and 1890s. But I never did really much trading. I did mostly buying. And what happens is, for those of us that collect the old cards, we're not really trading. Some people are trying to find a whole set of 1950 tops or 1965 tops. They try to find the whole box. Okay. Mine was just relegated to finding one card of each Hall of Famer. So the rarest card, I have a couple of old cards. One of them is up in the left-hand corner up there. It's the Ed De La Gente card. That's from 1895. And that one is probably the rarest card I have. Most expensive too. A lot of these cards from the 1880s are getting more and more difficult to find. And fortunately, I bought them 20 years ago. They're not in all perfect condition, but it's cards that I like and they're hard to find. But the price and the value has gone up substantially because baseball cards is not about who, it's about the rarity. It's about how many are those cards left out there. There's a lot of those old 1880 cards from Old Judge, for instance. There just aren't a lot of them around anymore of the Hall of Famers. There are a lot of Old Judge cards around which were found in cigarette packs back in the 1880s. But not a lot of the Hall of Famers, very difficult to get. And so I'm the sole family member still collecting cards. I don't do that much of it anymore because it's just with Hall of Famers, but nobody in the family is collecting cards. But everybody in the family wants to know where they're going to go. I'm hoping that my kids will see the value and the fun of continuing on this project of every time there's a newly elected player, let's put a card of him in the box. That's what I'm hoping they'll do. The card that means the most to me is probably the 1960 Roberto Clemente. And the reason for that is my sons got together one Christmas, put their money together, which is probably about 10 years ago, so they didn't have a lot of money, and bought me a really great condition Roberto Clemente from 1960. So that's my favorite card. That one means the most to me because they knew it was important to me, and they actually got it down here at Pastime Collectibles from Tom Elliott, who I've gotten a lot of these things from. Other cards that I really like are the Cracker Jack cards from 1914 to 1915. They were literally, if you can imagine a kid 100 years ago buying a Cracker Jack box and pulling a card out from it. And I have some cards up here, and you can still see some of the old caramel stain on the cards from 100 years ago. You know, there's 3 members of the Baseball Hall of Fame as players that are from Fullerton, and they have Fullerton roots. One is the great Walter Johnson, who went to Fullerton High School, and the other one is a gentleman named Archie Vaughn, who is also a graduate of Fullerton High School in the 20s. And the other one is Gary Carter, who went to Sunny Hills High School, played in the same Little League as my son and I, West Fullerton Little League. He was a big star everywhere he went. But 3 members of the Baseball Hall of Fame are from Fullerton with Fullerton roots, and there's a 4th. He's not in my cage here up here because he's a manager, and I try not to put managers in here. My walls would be full, and I don't have the space. But the other Fullerton resident is Tommy Lasorda, who's lived in Fullerton for years, the Dodger manager. There are 232 ball players in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I have 230. The oldest ballpark in America is Fenway Park. It's one of the most revered baseball stadiums in America. Okay, my first game was on July 20th, 1969. This is a program that I searched for 10 years on eBay to try to find the program of the game that I was at, my very first one when I was 10 years old, the game that I was at July 20th, 1969. And I found it 10 years ago. What's significant about that? First man on the moon landed the day that I was at that stadium. So July 20th, 1969, it was about the 5th or 6th inning, and they stopped the game, and the announcer said, "A man has just landed on the moon." And everybody stood up in the stadium, and they played the Star Spangled Banner. That was my very first professional baseball game. One of my favorite players from the old days named George Sisler. Great hitter, great baseball player for the St. Louis Cardinals. This is a Ted Williams piece that I was given to by my folks at the job that I used to work at for 25 years. And this is what they gave me on my 25th anniversary working for the company. Autographed Ted Williams piece, which I love. This is an autograph of Sandy Koufax with a pennant from the 1963 World Series. Now, Ty Cobb signed a lot, and one of the things that makes a lot of signatures, there's a lot of fakes out there. A lot of people fake autographs because they can make money. The best way to determine if something is real is to get it PSA graded and a check. So this is a signed check from Ty Cobb, which we know is a real piece. And same thing with the Jackie Robinson. This is a Jackie Robinson signed check. Once again, all gotten from Pastime Collectibles down in Fullerton, and I trust Tom completely. In fact, him and I went to meet Jackie Robinson's wife a few years back at this place up in I forget the name of the, but she autographed the card of Jackie Robinson. That's Rachel Robinson, Jackie Robinson's wife, who is still alive today. She's 92 or 93, and Tom and I got to meet her, and what a really neat lady. There are 230 Hall of Famers with baseball cards, and a few years ago, I started collecting something else. They have game-used material and autographs of players in the Hall of Fame. So I started collecting one game-used card here from every player in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So it's just something that I got caught up in. I've got about 130 of them, and basically what it is an old bat from a Hall of Famer is cut up, and little pieces are put in, and they're called bat cards. So here's one, here's one from a really old one. So this is a card and a piece of a bat from the Hall of Famer that's cut up and put into a card. Now some people believe that's sacrilegious. Why are you taking a bat from a Hall of Famer from the 1930s and doing that? And that's legit, I get that, but I just started on this tear to get some autographs. This is Tony Gwynn with an autograph. Some are swatches from their old uniforms. This is, let's see that, sorry. Anyway, so I got about 120 of those. Palm Springs about 3 years ago. And I was hoping that, somebody would look at it and go, you have to be special to be chosen to go on Antiques Roadshow in front of a camera. So the sports people said it was a great collection. They loved it. And they said it was a very complete Hall of Fame collection. And they said, keep going, keep collecting. They said, it's great stuff. So that was fun to do. That was a great day in Palm Springs with the Antiques Roadshow.